Hi class. In this video we're going to look at an example from chapter 8. So this says Digital World is a retail store that sells cameras and photography supplies. We've got credit purchase and purchase returns and allowances. We've got ledger accounts and transactions. It looks like there's only one ledger account with a balance that we have to worry about, at least at the beginning, and then we've got 6 requirements that we have to complete. So we're going to look at the purchases journal for this problem. We've got several tabs. We've got a ledger with just 4 accounts in it. The only account that had a beginning balance was the accounts payable, and that's given up here at the top, so $14,254. We're going to put that in there. And that takes care of requirement 1. So then it says we're supposed to record all the transactions in a 3-column purchases journal and in a general journal. So we're going to look at how to do those. We've got a purchases journal in one of the tabs, and the purchases journal has a couple of columns with just some information, and then several columns with purchases debit, freight in debit, and accounts payable credit, which is our specific account names, and specifically either debit or credit that transactions have to fit in. So the purchases journal, for anything to be recorded in the purchases journal, the transactions have to fit in some combination of those 3 accounts, and specifically how they're listed here, either debit or credit. So if they won't fit in those 3 particular accounts, then they can't be recorded in the purchases journal. We have to use the general journal for anything else. It's kind of a default if you want to think of it that way. So every one of the transactions that we're going to record here are going to have a credit to accounts payable, and then maybe will probably affect purchases and maybe freight. All right, so purchases instant camera for $2,020 plus freight. Unfortunately, there's most of this that is just transferred down to, I have to probably do quite a bit of scrolling. It's hard to remember, but you'll be able to find the invoice and the date here in the instructions. So that was, the terms were net in 60 days. The date of the invoice was May the 27th, even though we've recorded it on June the 1st. All right, so at that point, we're ready to actually put in the amounts from the transaction. So it says $2,020 plus freight of $215. So the purchases is the amount of the camera equipment that we bought, which is $2,020. Freight's pretty self-explanatory. The amount that goes in the accounts payable column is the amount that we owe Pro Photo Equipment, which is the amount of what we purchased plus the freight. So add those 2 together. That's your credit. Your 2 debits should total up to the credit, so our debits and credits are in balance. And if they do, then you're at least on the right track. So it looks like we got another purchase, $1,391 from Photo Supplies, dated June the 3rd. So again, you've got information that you have to put in. So we've got $1,391 in purchases. It didn't say anything about freight, so evidently they did not charge us freight. So the total amount that we owe them is $1,391. I put the 0 in because it seems to be taking it. You can try without putting the 0 in. It might not get it wrong. It's just kind of quirky sometimes. The next one, purchase lenses for $913 from Nano Glass. And again, they did not charge us freight, so the total we owe them is $913. And I'm not putting in the dates and the invoice number and all that in all these, but you'll need to do that. All right, the next one says receive credit memorandum for $385 from Pro Photo Equipment for defective cameras, and they were originally purchased on invoice 4241 dated May the 27th. So that was up here on June the 1st that we recorded that. So they sent us some defective cameras. We've sent them back, and they're going to credit us $385. So we have to think about what accounts were affected when we returned that photo or those cameras. So since we owe them money, we have an accounts payable amount, and they're going to reduce the amount that we owe them by $385. So one of the things that's going to happen is accounts payable will be debited to reduce it. The other thing is that purchase returns and allowances will be recorded. So now if we look at our purchases journal, there is an accounts payable column, but it's got a credit notated in it. So we cannot put an accounts payable debit in that column because it says accounts payable credit. There's also not a column that says purchase returns and allowances. So we cannot record that particular entry in the purchases journal. So we have to do something else with it. So we're going to go to the general journal, and that's where we're going to record this entry. So we're going to debit accounts payable to reduce the amount that we owe Pro Photo Equipment. And we're going to credit purchase returns and allowances. And let's see, how much was it? $385. So that's both our debit and our credit. All right, so let's go down to the next. So purchase colored film. That one has freight. It looks like it was dated June the 15th and net payable in 45 days. So we're going to go back over to our purchases journal and record that entry. So that was photo supplies for $1,170, and they did charge us freight. So the accounts payable amount is the total of the purchases plus the freight. So $1,242 would be the amount there. And don't forget to complete the rest of the information on that line. Let's see, on the 23rd, purchase camera cases for $1,953 from High Qual. I don't see any freight. It's due in 45 days. So we're going to record the amount of the purchase, which is $1,953, no freight. So the total we owe them is $1,953. That was to High Qual. And let's see what's next. Purchase lens filters for $2,440 plus freight of $117 from Holtz Spectrum. So we're going to put in Holtz Spectrum. And $2,440. They charged us freight of $117, so we're going to add those two amounts to come up with $2,557. And then the last one is a credit memorandum. So that one's a lot like the earlier one we did that won't fit because it includes a debit to accounts payable and a credit to purchase returns and allowances, so it cannot go in the purchases journal. So we're going to jump back over to the general journal. Enter the second entry. And let's see, that was to High Qual for $295. So we're debiting accounts payable, crediting purchase returns and allowances, and checking to see that we've got it all in there correctly. And that's what yours should basically look like when you finish yours. So we finished our journals, our purchases journal and our general journal. And then it says, post entries from the general journal to the general ledger account. So that's the two entries that we had that included the credit memorandums that we could not record in the purchases journal. So I would start at the top line in the general journal and just post each one of those individually. So we're going to have to go from the journal to our ledger. And we need to post a debit in our accounts payable for the first entry, and that was $385. And the purchase returns and allowances of $385. Now, if you'll notice in the journal, they did not put a date. So you have to actually go back up to the instructions and find the date again. It looks like it was on June the 18th. Well, maybe it's going to change. Let's see, June the 18th here. And June the 18th for purchase returns and allowances. And that gets the first entry posted. We're going to do exactly the same thing with the second entry, except for it's $295. And the date on that one was the last day of the month, so that was June the 30th. All right, so we did that. Next thing it says to do is total and rule the purchases journal as of June 30th. There's really not anything to do because Connect is doing it for you. So it's just totaling those three amount columns for you. Then it says post the column totals from the purchases journal to the ledger accounts. So we've posted from the general journal. Now we've got to post to the from the purchases journal. And to do that, it's fairly easy. The whole point of having a special journal is so that you don't have to post every transaction individually. It just saves you a lot of work. So we're going to post these column totals as however they're labeled. So accounts payable, credit, purchases, debit, and a freight in debit. We're going to post each of those columns over to the general ledger. And we're going to do that on the last day of the month. So the first one was an accounts payable credit of $10,291, and it's the end of the month. And then we had a purchases column that we were going to post for the end of the month, and a freight in column that we're also posting for the end of the month. So let's go over and grab those amounts. A purchase debit, $9,887. And a freight in debit of $404. Then it says compute the net purchases for the month of June. So to do that, you're going to have to look at your ledger. So they kind of got it broken out in the Analyze section. They've got total purchases and then net purchases. So your total purchases, you're going to have to get from your ledger. And if you recall, there's a purchases ledger account. So our total purchases is the balance in that account. To get the net purchases, you're also going to have to look at purchase returns and allowances. So your net purchases is going to be the total of purchases less your purchase returns and allowances. So hopefully this was helpful. I hope you have a great week.